Very good morning to all of you. At the outset, let me thank Gillets for organizing this program, which in my opinion is of paramount importance. I would like to say that a lot of very important deliberations we have heard over the last 2 days. Yesterday and today, a lot of very eminent speakers they have spoken. I would not like to repeat any of those things which have already been spoken so far. And those are all very important points, no doubt. But let me just with a small note introduce that I am fortunate to belong to 2 institutes. Currently I am the Vice Chancellor of one of the oldest engineering universities in India, which is 157 years old, only after Roorkee Engineering College. The university, Bengal Engineering and Science University at Shibpur, it has the distinction of creating the IIT system in India, because this university has created everything about the initial planning, acts and statutes of IIT, the first IIT at Kharagpur. I am also having the distinction of being associated with IIT Kharagpur for the last almost 35 years. The IIT, which is not only the biggest, not only the oldest, but the trendsetter amongst all the IITs. In technical education, whatever IIT Kharagpur has done today, the rest of the IITs have followed tomorrow. Now, we had gone through several changes, and as all of us witness, that we have come to a certain point which, historically speaking, is a point of where an avalanche is going to take place. Currently, the higher education scenario in the country, it looks like a solid Himalayan rock, monolithic rock with lot of snow-laden surface. But then the problem does not appear on the surface all on a sudden. When we see the cancerous germs or the cells getting carcinogenic, it does not start from the surface. It starts from the bottom of the epithelium. There's a layer which is known as basement layer, basal layer. The cells there, they turn from normal to carcinogenic. And similarly here as well, in Indian education system, it appears that the cells inside the bottom layer of the epithelium have started to become from normal to abnormal. Why is it so? Just some time back we heard some very interesting topics. You know, the universities, first we have to identify that what is their role. If the role of the university is just to give the degrees, then that is one thing. Teach thousands and thousands of students, and at the end of the whole program, give some degrees. But then that was not the concept of universities right from the beginning, whether it's in Greece or in Italy or even in the olden days of Taxila or Nalanda. Even in more modern times, let me tell you some of the interesting things. Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, whose 100 years of Nobel Prize winning we are observing this year throughout the country, Tagore, he had built Shantiniketan. And Shantiniketan, while doing Shantiniketan, he was not only a great poet. In my opinion, he was a great man of science. His book on Vishwaparichaya is one of the finest books written on science, one of the finest books that has ever been written by any author. Unfortunately, Vishwaparichaya, it has just been translated in English, but then it's not a part of curriculum anywhere. So when he was starting Sriniketan, he used to take all his students. We talked, just now heard a lecture on how to reduce the acoustics reverberation. There are a lot of things. One is reverberation, so sound. Our students, we are teaching them. Acoustics is an important subject, both in architecture and also in electronics. We are teaching subjects on illumination engineering, both to electrical engineering, architects. But then, very interesting things, no student has ever been asked that in your classroom you measure the reverberation. What is the reverberation? You know, it must be less than 0.6 seconds to make it more friendly. Similarly, in terms of illumination, nobody has been asked. For example, the company, they will sell the sound absorbing material. Will anybody tell the students that you find out what is there inside, you find out the mechanisms of sound absorption, you find out how much truly the sound absorption takes place, you find out the model of acoustic wave propagation? No. We do it. We do the same things. We give the problems in the class and they are retained. So, until and unless the education in the universities are directly linked with something that the students will work, things will not change. It was 1959. An evening lecture by none other than one of the finest physicists of our times, post-Einsteinian era, that was Richard Feynman. So Richard Feynman in 1959, in that evening lecture, the lecture was titled, There's Enough Space Below. Now the whole idea was, that was sort of the beginning of nanoscience and technology. In his lecture, what he had given was an introduction, that is how small we can go. Very interesting. There in that lecture, Feynman, he had given an open invitation to all the universities, to all the young people, that if you can come out with a micro motor, those days in 1959, the second problem was that the entire Encyclopedia Britannica should be put under a tip of a pen. And I have forgotten, maybe that the prize amount was something or somewhere around $10,000. If anybody can do from any part of the country or even from any part of the globe, he gets that. So $10,000 in 1960s is a big amount today. And interestingly, the American universities, they really insisted, they really encouraged a lot of universities, their students, that let them try to do that. After almost 18 years in late 1970s, somebody came up with the idea, and he one day telephoned Richard Feynman that, Professor Feynman, I have found the solution. A young researcher. And that's how the innovation is inculcated in the university system. All that we see in the form of modern technology today, it has been generated, a lot of the ideas have been generated in the universities. When Jack Calby first talked in 1958, the first, small scale integrated circuit, the smallest one in 1958, those days, he was a young man. He was not like Shockley or Brattain or Bardeen. He was a young man who did it. Out here in our country, again this year is a great year with the innovation, with the finding of boson, which is named after none other than Professor Satyen Bose. So Professor Satyen Bose, he writes in one place that while IIT Kharagpur was built way back in 1951 in a small deserted place in Kharagpur, somewhere around 120 kilometers from Calcutta, it was a barren land and there was no water. Those days there were people in Rajasthan called paniwalas So paniwalas, they used to carry a stick, you know, and then they will carry the stick from one place to another, and somewhere they will stop in Rajasthan, and they will say that, okay, you dig and you will get water inside. And truly, in many places that was the way. Paniwalas were very important parts of our society. So Satyendra Bose said, he's writing in one of his, in one place, he says that I found in a paper, he writes it, he was writing it in 1970s. In fact, he died somewhere in mid-70s, possibly in 76, 75, yeah, in early 70s. He writes that an Austrian physicist, he has taken all his students, and then in Sahara Desert, he was doing an experiment that if there is any change in the water level underneath, then if there's a big discontinuity in the flow, then a very small and a very weak electromagnetic field is generated on the surface. Now, this was a theory, this has been observed. So an Austrian physicist, imagine, he goes with his students to Sahara Desert to do that experiment where very low intensity electromagnetic field can be measured. He writes in one place, first of all, in India today, we do not have any place where you can do this experiment. Secondly, even if some professor can afford to set up some instrument, it will be all locked up inside the Almirah. It will never be available to any of the students. And that's how the university system goes on. What I'm saying is, until unless there's a radical change in the thinking process, which truly is very difficult. In fact, for the last, this is my second term as Vice Chancellor. I do not know many Vice Chancellors, that's usually in India they do not get. And somehow I had to continue. I had gone back to IIT Kharagpur, joined, and after 2 days again I came back. And I wanted an assurance from the teachers that please ensure that you would look forward to excellence, because universities cannot have any other role. We have talked about integrating research with teaching. What is the research today? Research means everybody knows, all of us, we know what is the number of papers, publications, and then I know that the person who is not capable of guiding even a single PhD student is today guiding 8 PhD students, and UGC has given some upper limitation, I have forgotten. Maybe that tomorrow UGC will come up with an idea that 20 research students can be guided. That's fine. But then everybody knows that, okay, what is the quality of journals that comes up? The PhDs and the papers are published for 2 reasons. And everybody, there's no hide and seek here. One is the promotion of the faculty members to go to the higher level, and for the student who gets a degree. That's all. And where is the true research component? And that's a very important thing. Unless you decouple the two, let a good teacher teach well. And obviously, I do agree with Vice Chancellor of Pune when he talked about the integration of research. There cannot be any teaching without research. At least in science and technology, I fully agree. There cannot be any good teaching without research. But then let it not be just sort of a, kind of normal routine affair. But then for doing research, we need analytical mind. Where is that analytical mind? Who creates that analytical mind? Yesterday during the dinner we were discussing that a student at 12th standard aspiring to get into IITs through JEE or even in some of the best state universities, they are putting up so much of hard labor to get into that. So hard labor is one thing. But then is it not that we are making them more non-analytic? We are making them through these, thousands of coaching courses a little bit more mechanical. Where is the analytical mind? You just simply change the whole context and the student gets confused. This is not the mind that the country or the globe needs today. Today there are problems. The problems of environment, huge problem. Everybody knows about that. Which university is talking about that the system, in my opinion, needs to change? I am unable to do that because my system, UGC, government, AICT, nobody supports. Other than the IITs, there is, in a sense, absolutely no freedom, no autonomy, nothing in the universities. One of the very, eminent, academicians, I know him for a long time, Professor Anjan Ghosh, he's from Tripura University. Yesterday he was talking about the difficulties. You want to start something truly great and you simply cannot do it because of the acts and statutes and this and that. What is needed now? 2, 3 important points. One is connectivity. Until and unless the connectivity between the universities and truly between a university and an industry is enhanced, nothing can happen. Professor was talking about the enabler. We need inclusion. Absolutely right. The thousands of people staying in places where even thousands of analytic minds are hidden who do not even get the opportunity. The question is, the national leaders must think that how to ensure that these minds get enough of opportunity to get into IITs, because in the conventional sense of IIT JEE or the state JEEs, they will never be able to get into any of the big institutions. Today, the finest universities throughout the globe, they have understood, and with proliferation of lot of MOOCs, lot of open, courseware available, the questions that are coming tomorrow for the universities are like this. That what will be the relevance of classroom teaching as we do today? The students, no point saying that they are not attentive. Very rightly, there are so many reasons for their not being attentive. The attention deficiency, it has come down to hardly 12 minutes. Beyond 12 minutes, which is drastically getting down, tomorrow beyond 5 to 7 minutes, one will not be able to retain their attentivity. You just keep on changing. The question is how to ensure that that should be enhanced. Let the students have their own free time. Lot of open software, open courseware are available. Let them do it. What is the necessity that they have to undergo a class which in a sense is a boarding class where he knows it very well that I did not get anything out of that. Now the question is, we have to think, and then a lot of connectivities are required. The connectivities between the universities, connectivities throughout, from University of Pennsylvania, UPenn, we are having a collaboration. I'll just give you 2 examples in my university. University of Illinois students and our students of electronics, jointly they have started a VoIP lab, Voice over Internet Protocol, which is one of the most important things in communication, as we all know. A lab which is being mentored and which is being controlled by the students of 2 universities. No teacher. In my university, I told only one teacher is notionally connected, but nobody helps. It's just the connectivity of the students. And as Friedman had said, in this soft and in this flat world, it is the connectivity, connectivity and connectivity. Connectivity amongst the universities. I need not have connectivity with the global university alone. Amongst all of us, can we have a connectivity? Amongst all of us, the industries and those of us who are present here, can we have a connectivity, more intense connectivity, so that after the program is over, there will be a residue. If there's no residue, thousands of such conferences, conventions take place without any value. And I'm sure that ILET, which has taken this bold and grand step, where universities are present, where industries are present, let's ensure how connectivity can be established. Many of the universities may not be having fund. Please, industries, you have to come forward. If I do not have fund, I may have a lot of innovative minds. Help them. Be connected with them. What Indian industries do not understand is if they have got a presence in the universities, forget about anything, forget about business. Just there are enough of young, brilliant minds in the universities who can help you. And from my university, I have made it absolutely open. I have brought out a book on success stories. The universities may do well to bring out one such booklet. While since I was late, so I forgot it in that cafeteria. So success story of some of the big projects which we have done, the students of my university for the society, where the students learn from doing in their own hands. Thank you.